Welcome to our channel, your gateway to the most spine-chilling tales and unnerving true stories. Today, we present a harrowing true account, The Vanishing Hotel, the Labyrinth of Nightmares. Get ready to be on the edge of your seat as we delve into this unsettling narrative. But be warned, comfort is the last thing you'll find here. Traveler Jessica glances outside the dusty car window as the howling winds and merciless sand of the Arizona desert assault her vehicle. The world around her seems to fade into a distant memory. The only thing that remains is the eerie glow of a nearby town. With every passing mile, the wind picks up even more, threatening to rip her poor car apart at any moment. She squints, focusing on the road ahead, when suddenly, the sky darkens, and the winds grow even more ferocious. She can't see anything but a wall of dust and sand before her. The sandstorm is here. Shivering from the cold, Jessica turns up the heat in her car and continues to drive, hoping to reach shelter before the storm gets any worse. Her stomach lurches as she rounds a corner and sees an old, abandoned hotel peeking out from behind a veil of swirling sand. It looks like it hasn't been used in years, but in this storm, it's the only refuge in sight. She pulls her car up to the entrance and jumps out, running for the safety of the lobby, shielding her face from the stinging sand. The moment she steps inside, she feels a chill run down her spine. The air is heavy and still, almost like it's holding its breath. The grand lobby of the Vanishing Hotel is decorated in a style that was once elegant but now seems eerie and foreboding. The marble floors are dulled from disuse, and the dusty chandeliers hang overhead like dead bodies. She can't shake the feeling that she's not alone. Footsteps echo through the empty hallways, and whispers drift through the air, carrying with them a sense of dread. Jessica hesitates, her heart pounding in her chest. The storm outside rages on, but it feels strangely muffled here. She takes a deep breath and approaches the front desk, hoping to find someone who can help her. The room is dimly lit, and she can barely make out the shapes of abandoned suitcases and discarded furniture scattered about. The silence is deafening, and she can't help but imagine the countless people who have stood in this very spot, feeling the same sense of foreboding that she does now. Finally, she hears a creak, and a shadow darts across the floor. Her heart leaps into her throat, and she spins around, searching the darkness for any sign of movement. The whispers grow louder, more insistent, and she feels as if she's being watched from every corner of the room. Trembling, she approaches the desk and picks up the old, dusty phone. She glances nervously over her shoulder as she dials the number, half expecting to see a ghostly figure materialize behind her. "Hello," a voice crackles through the line. It's faint and distant, like it's coming from the other side of the storm. Jessica exhales shakily and introduces herself. The person on the other end of the line listens patiently, and after a moment, offers her a room. Jessica hands over her credit card information, grateful to have found some semblance of sanctuary amidst the eerie hotel. Later that night, as Jessica lies awake in bed, she can't shake the feeling that something is not right. The whispers have grown louder, and she can swear she sees shadowy figures darting in and out of the darkness. The hotel's malevolent presence is growing stronger, and she's beginning to wonder if she's made a terrible mistake in staying here. She tries to convince herself that it's just the storm, the isolation, the fatigue, but deep down, she knows better. Finally, she musters up the courage to get out of bed and investigate. The corridors are dark and labyrinthine, and the further she goes, the more disoriented she becomes. The whispers seem to follow her, taunting her, urging her deeper into the hotel's twisted maze. She tries to find her way back to her room, but the hallways shift and change, thwarting her every attempt to escape. It's as if the hotel is intent on trapping her here, keeping her from ever leaving. With a shiver of fear, Jessica realizes that she may be stuck in the Vanishing Hotel for far longer than she ever imagined. The storm rages on outside, but it's nothing compared to the supernatural forces that dwell within these walls. She must find a way to survive the night, or risk becoming just another lost soul in the hotel's endless cycle of despair. As Jessica frantically follows the cryptic clues left by the whispers, she finds herself descending deeper and deeper into the bowels of the Vanishing Hotel. The air grows colder, the light dimmer, and the sounds more ominous with each step she takes. The walls begin to shift and twist, revealing that the hotel is not made of solid stone as she had originally thought, but rather a living, breathing organism that is constantly adapting to its surroundings. After hours of traversing through a labyrinth of nightmarish corridors, she comes across a door with an ornate, ancient-looking keyhole. She hesitates for a moment, unsure if she should try the key that she found earlier or continue searching for another way out. The decision is made for her when she hears a distant growl echo through the darkness, sending chills down her spine. With shaking hands, she inserts the key into the keyhole and turns it slowly. There is a click, and the door swings open, revealing a dimly lit chamber filled with peculiar artifacts and arcane symbols. In the center of the room stands a pedestal, upon which rests a glowing crystal. As Jessica approaches the pedestal, she realizes that the crystal is the source of the malevolent energy that has been trapping her in the hotel. She reaches out to touch the crystal, but before she can make contact, a hideous creature lunges out of the shadows, its razor-sharp claws slicing through the air. Jessica dodges the attack just in time, barely avoiding injury. The creature, some sort of twisted cross between a demon and a nightmare beast, hisses menacingly and readies itself for another attack. Panic rises in Jessica's throat as she realizes that she can't defeat this creature on her own. She looks around the room frantically, searching for anything that might help her in her battle. That's when she spots it, a dusty, ancient sword hanging on the wall. With a cry of determination, she grabs the sword and turns to face the creature. The battle is brutal and unforgiving, with Jessica using every ounce of her strength and skill to defend herself against the relentless onslaught of the creature's attacks. Sweat drips from her brow as she parries and dodges, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Just when she thinks she has the upper hand, the creature manages to land a glancing blow on her leg, sending her sprawling to the ground. In desperation, she hurls the sword at the creature, aiming for its glowing red eyes. The sword flies through the air with deadly precision, striking the creature square in the eye. It lets out a hideous shriek and falls to the ground, twitching and convulsing. Jessica breathes a shaky sigh of relief, but her victory is short-lived. As she stands over the defeated creature, she feels a sudden wave of exhaustion wash over her. The walls begin to shift and twist once more, and she realizes that the hotel is trying to expel her from its realm. The corridors rearrange themselves, trapping her in a never-ending maze. With renewed determination, she continues to fight her way through the shifting corridors, searching for a way back to the surface and freedom. As she wanders through the hotel's labyrinthine depths, she can't shake the feeling that the creature she defeated was just the beginning, and that there are far more terrifying creatures and nightmarish challenges waiting for her around every corner. The Vanishing Hotel was not always a gateway to another dimension. It was once a grand and opulent structure built by a wealthy family during the late 19th century, designed as a testament to their power and influence. However, tragedy struck when the family's youngest daughter, Amelia, disappeared without a trace. In their grief and despair, they turned to dark arts, desperate to bring her back. Unbeknownst to them, they had unwittingly opened a portal to a realm of nightmares, summoning ancient entities that preyed upon humanity's fears and despair. Jessica's journey through the hotel had brought her to a hidden chamber deep below its foundations, where she discovered the truth about the Vanishing Hotel's origin and the horrors it had unleashed. With renewed determination, she began to search for a way to close the gateway and defeat the entities that controlled it. The chamber was cold and damp, the air thick with a sense of foreboding. On the walls, disturbing paintings depicted the history of the hotel and the creatures that had come through the gateway. In the center of the room stood a massive, ancient-looking altar, its surface etched with symbols and runes that seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. Upon the altar rested a series of ornate crystals, each one emanating a sinister aura. Jessica knew that the crystals were key to closing the gateway and freeing the world from the nightmare entities. However, she also knew that they would be heavily guarded. The creatures that controlled the hotel would not willingly relinquish their power. She had to be careful, cautious, and above all, clever. As she made her way back up to the hotel's surface, Jessica devised a plan. She would lure the creatures away from the gateway one by one, using the items she had collected throughout her journey. Once they were distracted, she would sneak back and collect the crystals. It was a risky plan, but it was the only chance she had. Back in the hotel, Jessica began to put her plan into action. She lured the first creature, a grotesque, tentacled abomination, into a nearby room by leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. As it followed the scent, she slammed the door shut and barricaded it with furniture. Satisfied that the creature was temporarily contained, she moved on to the next one. One by one, She trapped the creatures in various rooms, using her wits and the items she had found to keep them at bay. As she worked, she could feel the tension in the air growing thicker, the hotel's reality beginning to warp and twist around her. The gateway was weakening, and the creatures were growing desperate. Finally, she made it back to the hidden chamber. The last creature guarding the crystals was a horrifying, demonic being with wings and claws of blackened steel. It was clear that it was the most powerful of them all. Jessica steeled herself, taking a deep breath before beginning her final confrontation. The battle was brutal and unforgiving. The demonic creature's attacks were relentless, its claws and wings slashing through the air with deadly precision. Jessica fought back with all her strength, using the knowledge she had gained about the hotel and its creatures to her advantage. As they fought, the gateway began to grow unstable, the air around them shimmering with unnatural energy. With a final, desperate surge of strength, Jessica managed to land a blow that sent the demonic creature reeling. In that moment, she seized her opportunity and lunged forward, snatching the final crystal from the altar. The gateway wavered and flickered, and then with a final, deafening roar, it collapsed in on itself, dissipating into nothingness. The hotel returned to normal, the shifting corridors stabilizing and the whispers falling silent. Jessica, battered and bruised, but triumphant, stumbled out of the hidden chamber, back into the lobby. The sandstorm outside had finally abated, the sun shining down on the desert once more. She had done it. She had saved the world from the nightmare creatures and closed the gateway forever. With a heavy heart, she knew that she could never truly return to her old life. The knowledge she had gained, the things she had seen, would forever haunt her. But she also knew that she had made a difference, and that was enough to carry her forward. As she walked away from the vanishing hotel, the last remnants of its dark history fading into the distance, she vowed to use her newfound powers to protect the world from the shadows that lurked just beyond the veil of reality. The darkness envelops her, pressing against her eyes, her skin. It's as if she's been buried alive, suffocating under the weight of memories long forgotten. She tries to move, to breathe, but everything feels sluggish, unresponsive. Her heart pounds, her lungs burn, and she realizes with a start that she's back in her own memories. The vanishing hotel has trapped her in a twisted version of her past, forcing her to confront the demons that have haunted her for years. Jessica's surroundings come into focus. She's in her childhood bedroom, the same room she's been dreaming about since she first stepped foot into the vanishing hotel. The walls are a faded pink, adorned with posters of bands she used to love and posters of movies she knows she shouldn't have watched at such a young age. Her old, battered childhood toys are scattered across the floor, their once bright colors faded and worn. The air is heavy with the scent of stale sweat and old laundry, memories of countless sleepless nights spent tossing and turning in this very bed. She turns her head, looking for an exit, any way out of this nightmare. The door is shut tight, the knob out of reach. Panic begins to set in as she realizes she's trapped. Tears well up in her eyes, but she forces them back. She won't let herself be a victim again. She takes a deep breath, steeling herself against the onslaught of memories, and begins to explore her surroundings. As she moves around the room, she finds herself reliving moments from her past. The time her best friend betrayed her, the first time she fell in love, the night her parents got divorced. Each memory is like a punch to the gut, each one more painful than the last. She wonders how the vanishing hotel knows so much about her, how it can use her memories against her. Just when she thinks she can't take any more, she spots something out of the corner of her eye, a book, sitting on her old nightstand. The cover is worn and faded, but she recognizes it instantly. It's her old diary, the one she kept during the worst years of her life. She picks it up, feeling a strange mix of curiosity and dread. Flipping through the pages, she sees her own handwriting, her own thoughts and feelings, written down for all the world to see. As she reads, she realizes that the vanishing hotel has been using her memories to manipulate her, to make her feel powerless and alone. But she refuses to let it win. She closes the diary, takes a deep breath, and begins to concentrate. She focuses all of her energy on the door, willing it to open, to provide her with an escape. Slowly, the door begins to creak open, the hinges groaning in protest. A shaft of light cuts through the darkness, illuminating the hallway beyond. Jessica takes one last look around her childhood bedroom, savoring the familiarity of it all, and then steps out into the hallway, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. The hallway is dark and eerie, the walls covered in the same faded pink as her bedroom. She can hear distant whispers, the echoes of her own memories calling out to her, taunting her. But she's stronger now, more resilient. She follows the corridor, moving ever closer to the exit, to freedom. As she rounds a corner, she comes face to face with the entity that has been controlling the vanishing hotel. It's a grotesque, shadowy figure, its features obscured by tendrils of darkness. Its voice is like the rustling of 1,000 ancient pages, and its eyes glow with an unholy light. It towers over her, its massive form blocking out the light, casting the hallway into deeper darkness. You've been a difficult one to control, it hisses, its voice chilling to the bone. But I've seen your memories, and I know how to break you. You're so full of regret, so consumed by the past. Why not let it consume you completely? Jessica stands her ground, meeting the creature's gaze unflinchingly. Because I choose who I let define me, she says, her voice strong despite the fear that thrums through her veins. I am not my memories, and I will not let them control me. The creature laughs, a sound like the rustling of dead leaves. Ah, but you don't understand. Your memories are a part of you, just as much as your heart or your mind. You can't simply ignore them and hope they'll go away. Jessica thinks back to the lessons she learned in her dreams of the Library of Souls, the knowledge she gained from the books she read. Yes, she says, that's true. But I can choose what to do with them. I can learn from my mistakes and grow stronger. I can forgive myself and move on. The creature narrows its glowing eyes. You're a fool, girl. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. The past will always haunt you, always find a way to come back and hurt you. With a sudden burst of speed, the creature lunges at her, its shadowy tendrils reaching out to wrap around her. Jessica dodges to the side, narrowly avoiding its grasp. She knows she can't fight it physically, she has to face her memories head-on. She concentrates, summoning the strength she found in the Library of Souls, and launches herself at the creature, aiming a kick at its midsection. The blow connects, sending the creature reeling backwards. It lets out a roar of pain and fury, its tendrils flailing wildly as it tries to regain its balance. Jessica takes advantage of its momentary weakness, launching another kick at its chest, followed by a series of rapid punches to its face. The creature's tendrils writhe and twist, but they cannot hold her back. With a final burst of strength, she pushes it against the wall, pinning it there with her own body weight. I'm not afraid of you, she hisses. I'm not afraid of my memories anymore. They made me who I am, but they don't get to control me. Not anymore. The creature thrashes and snarls, its tendrils clawing at the air, but Jessica remains steadfast. She refuses to let it break her. After what feels like an eternity, the creature goes limp, its glow fading until it is nothing but a shadow of its former self. The tendrils withdraw, retreating back into the darkness from which they came. Jessica releases her grip on the creature, stepping back to catch her breath. The hallway is silent once more, the only sound the gentle rustling of the shadows. She knows that her battle with the vanishing hotel isn't over yet, but for now, she's won. She has regained control of her own life, her own memories. She has found the strength to move forward, to embrace the future with open arms. As she continues down the hallway, the exit finally comes into view. The light at the end of the tunnel beckons her, guiding her back to the world of the living. She takes one last look back at the faded pink walls, at the place that once held so many of her worst memories, and smiles. She may always carry those memories with her, but she will never let them define her again. With a newfound sense of purpose and determination, she steps through the door and back into the world. The air around Jessica crackles with energy as she stands before the ruler of the nightmares, her heart pounding in her chest. Its massive, twisted form looms over her, seemingly made of the very darkness that permeates the vanishing hotel. Its eyes, burning with a malevolent light, scan her from head to toe. The creature's immense maw parts, revealing rows upon rows of razor-sharp teeth, and lets out a deafening roar that echoes through the chamber. Jessica takes a deep breath and summons all her courage. She knows that if she backs down now, everything she's experienced, everything she's fought for, will have been for nothing. She raises her hands, feeling the power surging through her veins, and launches a barrage of energy bolts at the creature. The ruler of the nightmares recoils, its massive form shattering under the impact, but it doesn't fall. The battle rages on, Jessica and the ruler of the nightmares trading blows, their power fluctuating with each exchange. The chamber around them begins to shift and warp, the walls twisting and contorting like living things in pain. Jessica realizes that she must find a way to exploit the hotel's shifting corridors, the one thing that she knows the ruler of the nightmares cannot control. She dashed forward, weaving through the swirling currents of darkness that surround them, searching for an opening. As she runs, she spots a familiar corridor just ahead, one that she's traversed many times before. With renewed determination, she pushes herself to her limits, racing toward the exit. The ruler of the nightmares roars in frustration, but it's too late. Jessica reaches the corridor and leaps through the shimmering portal, finding herself back in the hotel's grand lobby. The hotel's furnishings ripple and fade as the gateway between dimensions begins to close, sealing the ruler of the nightmares away forever. Jessica falls to her knees, exhausted but victorious. The whispers that had haunted her throughout her journey fade away, replaced by the gentle hum of the hotel's power core. She takes a deep breath, savoring the sensation of being free, of knowing that she has saved not only herself but the world as well. Time passes, and Jessica eventually finds her way back home. The memories of her journey through the vanishing hotel and the nightmarish realm it concealed begin to fade, replaced by the familiar rhythms of her everyday life. But she knows that she can never truly forget what she's experienced, and that the knowledge she gained will stay with her forever. As she lies in bed at night, she can still feel the power coursing through her veins, the sense of destiny that has been awakened within her. And she knows that, from this moment on, her life will never be the same. The sun beats down mercilessly upon the Arizona desert, its harsh glare reflecting off the sand in a blinding haze. The air is thick with dust and heat, making it difficult for Jessica to breathe as she stumbles through the endless dunes. Her lungs burn and her throat feels like it's on fire, but she knows she must keep moving. She has to escape. Behind her, the vanishing hotel looms like a malevolent specter, its once grand facade now cracked and weathered from the storm that brought her here. Jessica shudders at the memory of the nightmares that filled its halls, the whispers that seemed to echo through her very soul. She can't believe she actually made it out alive. With renewed determination, she pushes onward, following the trail of footprints she left behind her in the soft sand. The corridors of the hotel played tricks on her sense of direction, but she managed to navigate her way back to the exit. Now, all she has to do is find her way back to civilization. As she trudges on, the horizon begins to take shape. A small town appears on the horizon, a welcome sight after days of being lost in the wilderness. Her heart leaps with joy, but she knows the hotel's influence doesn't end with the walls of its building. She has to stay focused. Finally, she reaches the outskirts of the town, her legs trembling with exhaustion. The dusty road stretches out before her, leading to a small motel where she hopes to find shelter and rest. As she approaches the front desk, the clerk looks up from his newspaper and gives her a curious glance. "Can I help you, miss?" he asks, his voice gentle and soothing. Jessica forces a weak smile. "Yes," she manages to croak. "I was just wondering if you have any vacancies." The clerk nods sympathetically. Of course. You must have had quite the adventure out there. Let me check our availability." He taps away at the keyboard for a moment before looking back up at her. "Actually, we just had a cancellation. Room 12 should be free. How does that sound?" Jessica's heart sinks. Room 12. It was the room she had stayed in during her first night in the hotel. She can't shake the feeling that something isn't right, but she's too drained to argue. "That's perfect," she says, handing over her credit card. "Thank you so much." As the clerk processes her information, Jessica takes a seat on one of the uncomfortable plastic chairs by the front desk. Her mind races, trying to make sense of everything that's happened. The whispers in the hotel, the shifting corridors, the creatures that stalked her through the night. Was it all just a hallucination brought on by dehydration and exhaustion? Or was there something more sinister at work? She doesn't have long to ponder before the clerk hands her a key. "Here you go, miss. Room 12 is right this way." He gestures toward a narrow hallway leading deeper into the motel. Jessica takes a deep breath, her heart hammering in her chest, and follows the clerk down the hall. The room is small and dingy, with peeling wallpaper and a musty odor that she can't quite place. She tosses her backpack onto the bed and collapses onto the uncomfortable mattress, too tired to even remove her shoes. As she stares up at the ceiling, images from the hotel dance through her mind, and she can't shake the feeling that she's not truly safe yet. A soft knock on the door startles her out of her thoughts. "Come in," she calls, sitting up in bed. The door swings open to reveal the same clerk from the front desk. He carries a small tray laden with a pitcher of ice water and a few glasses. "I thought you might like some refreshments," he says, setting the tray down on the small table next to the bed. "On the house, of course. just to help you relax and get settled in. Jessica forces a tired smile. That's very kind of you, she says, reaching for a glass. Thank you. As she takes a sip of the water, she can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. The clerk lingers by the door, watching her intently, and she can't help but feel a shiver of unease. Is there something else I can do for you? He asks, his voice still soothing and gentle. Another drink perhaps? No, thank you, she says, trying to sound more confident than she feels. I'm just going to rest up for a bit. Thank you for your help. The clerk nods understandingly. Of course, miss. If you need anything else, just give us a holler. We're right here. He turns to leave, but before he reaches the door, Jessica can't help but blurt out her fear. Wait, she says, her voice barely audible over the pounding of her heart. The hotel. It wasn't real, was it? The clerk pauses, his hand on the doorknob, and gives her a knowing smile. Oh, I'm sure it was real enough to you, miss. But sometimes, places like that, they can play tricks on a person's mind. You know, give them nightmares they can't seem to shake. He shrugs sympathetically. Just try to forget about it, okay? You're safe now. And with that, he disappears down the hall, leaving Jessica alone with her thoughts and her fears. But as she lies in bed, staring at the ceiling, she can't help but wonder if she really is safe, or if the hotel's influence has simply followed her here. As Jessica stumbled out of the vanishing hotel, she took a deep breath of the cool desert air. The soft sand crunched beneath her feet, and the harsh sunlight stung her eyes. She was free, alive, but the nightmare she had just escaped from felt as if it would haunt her for the rest of her life. Her body ached from the physical exertion of navigating the hotel's ever-shifting corridors, and her mind was reeling from the horrors she had witnessed. She had seen things that no human should ever have to see, and she knew that the memories would be with her forever. Despite the relief of being out of danger, Jessica felt profoundly alone. She couldn't share her experiences with anyone. They would never believe her. The only solace she found was in the company of the stranger who had helped her escape. They had bonded over their shared ordeal, and she knew that they would be friends for life. In the days that followed, Jessica tried to return to some semblance of normalcy. She checked into a hotel room, changed out of her soiled and torn clothing, and tried to sleep. But the nightmares came anyway, vivid and terrifying. She would wake up screaming, covered in sweat, certain that she was back inside the vanishing hotel. Her employer, concerned for her well-being, offered her a leave of absence. Jessica gratefully accepted, knowing that she needed time to process what had happened. She spent her days wandering through the city, trying to lose herself in the mundanity of everyday life. But no matter where she went or what she did, the memories of the hotel would not leave her alone. One day, as she was sitting in a park, watching children play on the swings, she realized that she had a choice. She could continue to live her life in fear, forever haunted by the memories of the vanishing hotel, or she could use her experience to help others. She could share her knowledge, and maybe, just maybe, save someone else from suffering the same fate. With renewed determination, Jessica began to research the history of the vanishing hotel and the entities that controlled it. She tracked down survivors of similar experiences, offering them comfort and support. She worked tirelessly to put together a comprehensive guide on how to navigate the hotel's shifting corridors and evade the nightmarish creatures that lurked within. Years passed, and Jessica became a respected expert on the subject. She gave lectures, wrote books, and even started a support group for those who had survived their encounters with the supernatural. Her work was not easy. There were many who refused to believe that such a place could exist, let alone that anyone had escaped from it alive. But for those who needed her, Jessica was a beacon of hope in the darkness. One day, as she was giving a speech at a conference, she saw a young woman in the back of the room. She was huddled in a corner, trembling, her eyes filled with fear. Jessica knew immediately that she had seen that look in the mirror many times before. After the speech, the woman approached her, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "I thought I was alone." In that moment, Jessica knew that her decision to continue fighting had been the right one. Even if she couldn't save everyone, she could make a difference. And that was enough. As the years passed, Jessica continued her work, always remembering the lessons she had learned within the vanishing hotel. She never forgot the horrors she had witnessed, but she also refused to let them define her. She built a new life for herself, one filled with purpose and meaning, and she dedicated herself to helping others find their way out of the darkness. And so, Jessica's story became one of triumph over adversity, of resilience in the face of unimaginable horrors, and of the power of the human spirit to rise above even the most nightmarish of circumstances. Her tale spread far and wide, inspiring countless others to find the courage to fight back against the darkness, and to never lose hope. The Vanishing Hotel faded into memory, but Jessica's legacy lived on, a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit. In the wake of her traumatic experience at the Vanishing Hotel, Jessica finds herself struggling to return to a sense of normalcy. Haunted by the memories of the nightmarish creatures and twisted corridors, she feels a deep-seated need to share her story with others who might be going through similar ordeals. With the help of a sympathetic therapist, she begins to piece together her fragmented account of the events that transpired, recounting the horrifying moments that seem etched into her very being. The therapist listens intently, nodding in understanding, and encourages Jessica to write down her experiences as a means of processing them. As she pours her heart onto the page, she begins to realize that her story could serve as a beacon of hope for others who find themselves lost in the labyrinth of the supernatural. With this newfound purpose, Jessica decides to create a support group, offering a safe space for those who have faced the unimaginable and emerged scarred but alive. Word of Jessica's group spreads quickly, and soon she finds herself surrounded by a diverse group of individuals with their own haunting tales to tell. There's the young man who claims to have witnessed his best friend being dragged into another dimension by a shadowy figure. The woman who says she was trapped in a car that was driving endlessly through a never-ending tunnel of darkness. And the elderly man who speaks of a house that seemed to shift and warp at will, trapping him inside for weeks. As each person shares their story, Jessica feels a sense of kinship growing between them, a bond born from shared suffering and the knowledge that they are not alone in their nightmares. Over time, the group becomes a vital resource for those seeking help and understanding in the face of the supernatural. Jessica leads weekly meetings, offering guidance and empathy to those who need it most. She also reaches out to local authorities, urging them to take reports of paranormal activity more seriously and to investigate potential hotspots. Her efforts lead to several successful closures of portals to other dimensions and a growing awareness of the need for such support groups. As Jessica continues her work, she finds herself slowly rebuilding her own life. She returns to school, determined to finish her degree in psychology, and begins to date again. Her newfound purpose gives her a sense of resilience and strength that she didn't know she possessed. She even begins to see the hotel itself as a metaphor for the human condition. A reminder that no matter how dark and twisted our lives may become, there is always the potential for growth and redemption. Jessica's story eventually reaches a wider audience, thanks in part to a best-selling book she writes about her experiences. She becomes something of a celebrity in paranormal circles, and is often sought out by media outlets for her insights and perspective. Despite this newfound fame, she remains grounded and focused on her work, using her platform to help those who are still struggling in the shadows. In the end, Jessica's legacy transcends the Vanishing Hotel and the nightmares it embodied. She becomes a symbol of hope and perseverance, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always the potential for light to break through. Her story echoes through the lives of those she touched, inspiring them to face their fears and to find the strength within themselves to overcome the unimaginable. And as the years pass, the memory of the Vanishing Hotel fades, but the legacy of Jessica Harris continues to shine brightly, illuminating the path forward for anyone who finds themselves lost in the darkness. Thank you so much for joining me on this cinematic journey. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Have you experienced a spine-chilling horror that left you trembling? Share your terrifying tale with us by emailing nightmarenetwork@hotmail.com, and we'd be thrilled to feature it on our platform. Until next time, happy movie watching.